Well, all right, all right, all right. Now, see, if you have actually read Greenlight, you know the story behind why he says that all right, all right, all right, which set Matthew McConaughey to the moon. And that's why I was like saying it, because especially now that I know what it means. Loyal listeners, welcome to Agents Influence Conversations with Cass. This is going to be one of your favorites because I'm with one of my favorites, Mr. Ryan Hanley. What up, dog?
What's up, man? It's good to be. You've been so busy. You're such a big timer now that we don't get a chance to chat unless it's scheduled on your calendar. So it's nice.
Yeah, everybody says that, and it is true. It is true. And I mean, and the thing is not that I'm big time. I'm saying that I'm busy, dude. At my agency, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about your agency. I mean, I've found some pretty good young bucks who I think are just not. I see them as me when I was younger, and they're just so hungry and they're so smart, so willing to learn. They've been sucking so much of my time. We'll talk a little bit about that. But Hanley, I'm so glad that you're on here with me, buddy. Before you and I just start kicking it, like you loyal listeners know I do, he doesn't get the questions and stuff like that because we asked. Hell, he probably helped me create those questions 6 years ago. I don't know. Hanley and I got so much history. But I think that I want you to know this is going to be a two-part. So first is going to be this. You're listening here on Agents Influence. You may have noticed maybe it was a little bit shorter than normal. That's because part two will be what we would consider Thursday, because I come out on Tuesday and then Thursday, but it depends on when you're really listening to this. He will have the second part there. So just something that we're trying to do, trying to mix it up a little bit. And what our basis is for this is what's Hanley and Cass think of what's been going on in 2021. What do we think is going to happen in 2021? Because we have no freaking clue. It's just fun to talk about. And also disclaimer that Cass and Hanley have no effing clue what they're talking about. So please take it with what they say, a grain of salt. Please use a half.
Well, that might be true for one of us.
Yeah, every once in a while. Come on. All right, dude. So, but bro, seriously, I got a lot of things that I want to talk to you about, right?
Hold on, before we get there, I do want to answer one of your questions. So I would say
Okay, which
since
one?
I've been giving you a hard time about the questions forever, mostly just because it's fun to give you a hard time.
It is.
But the last question that you normally ask, do you love to win or hate to lose? And for a long time, I thought that that was like a silly question. I got why you answered it. You're trying to get the guests talking and that kind of stuff, and I completely understand the reason behind it. And people have given some incredibly smart answers.
They really have.
But I was always like, what does it matter? Like, why does that question? What is the distinction between the two? And why does it matter? Like, if you're trying, and for better or for worse, my methodology has always been, I just try as hard as I can all the time, right? Like, I don't really take time off. I don't take days off. I don't really need time off. I'm either family or work. I have a country club membership that I use once a month, right? Like, and I love to golf. I love it. But it's like, if I'm sitting here, I'm like, I would rather be getting another step ahead of my competition, which, that's just the way that it is. Like, I would rather now I know I have a time frame for that. And I think maybe this is some of how I got to this, but I was always like, you have this time frame, like you're gonna hit this time and you're gonna go to Florida, and then that's your time. Like you've worked this hard and you've got to this point, and whether that time is extended or not, like you have a time in your head. And I didn't have that, right? I've never had that. And I think part of that is that I've never worked at the same place long enough, right? Like I was at trustedchoice.com. I thought that would be a very long job. It ended up ending. I thought, I was very excited to go to Bold Penguin. That lasted 9 months. That really wasn't their fault or my fault. But, I thought the fitness job was going to be, so it's like I've had all these iterations, and it's really hard when you get to 40 to be like, oh, geez, I'm starting another thing again for the first time. You know what I mean?
Right.
And, but in doing what I have really taken in the last, 16 or 17 months, however long Rogue has been in existence, is, I've had to really take stock in, like, what do I want this to be, right? Like, what is this thing going to be? Like, what is it going to mean for my life? Is this my forever job? Is this my legacy? Or is this how I put my family in a situation where, we never have to worry about financial concerns again, which is really the point, right? Like money doesn't solve all problems, but it certainly solves money problems. So, so in thinking about that, I've started to think about, well, how do we get there, right? So to answer that question, because I would
No,
probably
you
not.
keep going on. This is good stuff, bro.
No,
I,
I just,
I love this.
so it kind of finally the other day I was listening to episode that you were doing with somebody. I don't remember who it was. And I was like, you know what? I really fucking hate to lose. Like, I hate losing. Like, I hate losing. Like, winning is great. And don't get me wrong, like, but I think it's part of the problem why I'm not a good producer is like, I don't love that win. Like, getting that person to wet sign that document or choose us, to me, I don't get off on that. Like, I don't. I hate losing, especially to people that I feel are inferior to me. And I have no problem saying that. Like, people who I feel like haven't put in the work, or, like, if I know that in my heart that I'm better than someone at something, or in providing a better service, and they beat me, man, that just drives me up a wall, because I'm like, why am I not executing on my vision, or what am I not saying, or why am I not positioning this way that someone would choose something that is worse, right? Like, or that they're working with someone who I know doesn't have their best interest in mind, but they've chosen that person for a reason. That's my fault, not that other person's fault. Like, what am I doing wrong? And I hate that feeling. So I haven't had an answer to that question. I've always kind of thought that question was like a whatever question. But I'd say in evaluating where I wanted Rogue to go and really thinking about what drives me and where I need to position myself in the company, it's why, I hired Matt Jaggard, my producer, probably before, anybody in IAOA or wherever would be like, you don't have enough revenue to hire a producer. You know what I mean? Like, I hired that person on purpose because I don't love to win like he does. He loves to win. That's what makes him a good producer. I don't love that. There's other things that drive me. So I just finally wanted to answer that question, and been, I don't say bugging me, but like, I felt it was necessary to finally, like, I hate to lose for a whole bunch of reasons.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. And it's probably 50-50. I did start the question, to be like, hey, I found it in LinkedIn. And for all the loyal listeners, they know that you said the last question. Actually, it's the second question. Ain't that right, loyal listeners?
Oh, okay, yeah. What's the last one?
I know, no. The last one is skill or luck. But that's okay. That's okay. What I want to say to you is it gives us, the loyal listeners, and I have found out, it gives us an insight to people's brain, right? What you just explained is a lot of times we get that, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, I think I love to win. I've just finally come down to it. I've went back and forth. And the reason is because I think of what you just said. You look at it, you don't realize it, but you were saying, I've got to learn from what I did. And it's the old cliche, we don't win and lose, we win and learn. There's a lot of truth to there. And so I don't really know, but I do like to win, and that's just one of those things. So that's cool, dude. You had a very good explanation of it. Let's talk about that. So you have grown pretty rapidly already. I think you have a VA and an assistant. I don't know, what do you call them?
We have there's four of us. I have an agency VA, full-time CSR. He's out of the Philippines. He's awesome. He's actually my longest tenured employee. It'll be a year in September. And then I have a woman who is account manager. She's here in the States. She actually lives like 10 minutes from me in the Albany area. And then I have a full-time producer, and he lives in Chicago. And actually, the next call that I have after this is an interview for another account manager. And my current account manager is probably going to move to operations role potentially. So, even though...
Look at you.
That's
not what you're supposed to do, Hanley.
Well, the truth is,
you're only 2 years in, bro. You should be by yourself, sweating it and working hard.
Yeah, I get that. Like,
isn't that what the industry tells us?
Well, yes, that is what the industry tells us. And there is a machismo to the chest thumping, look how far I got by myself, right? Like, there's this sense of, like, I earned this, and I just could give two flying Fs about that mentality. Like, I'm growing this like a tech startup. We're an agency or a brokerage. I don't even call myself an agency anymore. I call myself a brokerage because I think it fits more with what we're doing. Also, anyone who isn't an independent agent doesn't have a clue what an agent is. And that term only makes sense inside our industry. Outside our industry, it doesn't. And since I have more phone calls with people outside our industry than inside now in terms of growing my business, I refer to ourselves as a broker because the word doesn't make sense. So I just call us a brokerage. Truthfully, you can debate the semantics of it. That feels like a stupid thing. I do it only because people, when I say agency, they're like, well, what does that mean? Like, how do you work? Do you work for a carrier? And I'm like, I'm sick of freaking having that discussion.
Dude, come on, loyal listeners. That's something we've never really talked about, and that's true in our agencies. Well, you're not an agent, you're a broker, right? And then, I mean, they'll even go that far. Sometimes you get a halfway educated one. Well, I'm not saying that like they don't.
Yeah, no, I know.
Understanding the lingo, because they'll say that's a State Farm agent. I wouldn't say a State Farm broker, right? They'll say, oh, so you're a broker. You offer many companies. They don't say, oh, you're independent. They don't say.
And you go, no. I have contracts with the carriers, and and you're like, no one gives a shit. You're a broker. Okay, perfect. So and that's and really. I understand the technical differences. I mean, technically we are an agent of, the carriers that we're appointed with, but no one that I talk to when I'm, really our businesses, we focus solely on small business and we drive our business through affinity partnerships. That's what we do. And we're moving closer and closer to being a tech company in order to make that happen. So that all being said, if I call someone and like, we're an independent agency, they're like, what does that mean? That's it. Why even waste? What does that mean? Hi, we're a broker. Oh, okay, cool. What are you doing? Done. So I refer to ourselves as brokers now. So really, I look at our company and I run our company like a technology startup would.
What does that mean?
It means that I'm burning capital right now. We lose money every month.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, on purpose.
That's why you can do what you do. You have a lot of money. You're rich.
No, that's
I'm
not.
just saying, this is what people are thinking, listening, right?
No, I had to go out and raise money like anybody else. What I had to do was I had to sell a portion of my company to take on. It was a friends and family round. I mean, it's people that I know that are close to me. It's not like I went out to VCs, although I am doing that right now. But like round one for me was going out to friends and family and saying, hey, for a small portion in the upside of this business long term. This is what I'm looking for, so that I could go out and hire the people that would get me out of the day-to-day nonsense where I don't add value. I am a very good enterprise business development person. That's where I strive, right? Reaching out to other decision makers, people who see bigger partnerships, talking them through what we're doing and building alignment. That is what I'm good at.
That's what you were good at Trusted Choice, in building an alignment with those carriers. You're right. That is a strength of yours. That's self-awareness, loyal listeners, and you can hear the enthusiasm and the confidence that you say, well, I'm getting ready to go to VCs. That right there, people say, well, how could I go to VCs? You know how you do it? You find out who you are. Like
you fucking do it. This is what drives me crazy.
You have to have this story. You know what I mean? Like what you have here.
And I'm not saying VC. I don't want to put it that way because that makes it sound like I'm not trying to sound like a douche. That's not what I'm trying to be. This could be going to your parents. This could be going to your best friend, a business partner, a local bank. I don't care where. If you want to grow and you need capital, if you don't need capital, if you're profitable and you have cash in the bank, awesome. You can reinvest it if this is what you want. I see in what I'm trying to do an 18 to 24 month opportunity in the marketplace that if I can build the business that I have up in my head and now out on slides and in decks, if I can make that happen, I have this window to separate myself to the point where I will financially be able to do the things I want to do with this business and help a lot of small business professionals. My goal is that Rogue will insure 1% of all small business in the United States. That's 300,000 accounts. That over a 10-year period.
Do that? Let's talk a little bit more. Let's go a little bit to 10,000 foot here. You're driving a lot of leads. If you've known Hanley since 2010, 2008, like I have, really that really his secret is everything he's just always done and mastered up to now, right? I mean, am I right about that, Hanley? What does this look like in your agency today?
Yeah, so we have a bunch of buckets. We do a lot of inbound, but that's not going to get us there. That's just a really solid base and a great branding play. And when people do check us out, who I'm doing larger deals with, they're like, oh, these guys are legit. They're not some small podunk little agency. And so that's, I've literally been telling probably everyone who's listening to this podcast right now what to do for a decade. You not doing it is your own choice.
That's true.
Because when I do it, in the mornings and in the evenings. I still have to do regular insurance stuff during the day. Well, not as much anymore, but like, you know, when I did the majority of the videos, I was doing in the mornings and the evenings. So telling me you don't have time or you don't have the right camera, it's all just not. It's at this point, I'm so sick of trying to convince people. I just don't anymore. Don't do it. Let me just don't do it. Just keep doing what you're doing. I'm just going to extend my lead. I've been in business for 16 months and I put 200 videos on YouTube. What is your fucking excuse? Now, you can tell me I don't want to do it. I don't see it as a good, that's perfectly fine. I completely understand it's not something that I want to do. What aggravates me are the people who keep going, well, what should I do? Maybe you're just not smart enough. Maybe that's the answer. I don't know. Like, if you can't figure out what to do at this point, you need to start questioning life choices. Right. You know, if this is something you want to do, it's all there. You've been talking about it forever. I've been talking about it forever. Hey, you don't believe us? We're a couple of jerks. Go copy what Mike Crowley's doing. He's doing a great job. Go copy him. He's got it figured out. So, like, I guess my point is, I have gotten for a decade, I tried to like convince people, look here, please do this. This is going to help you. And so few have picked it up that when I get the, hey, what should I do question, I want to be like, just punch yourself in the face. Like, if you can't hit Google, you know how I figured it out? I Googled shit for a decade. That's what I did. I Googled stuff. And like, I don't have any secret mentor who gives me the tricks to content marketing. I read, I test, I create stuff. I have videos that have 9 views. I have videos right now on Rogue Grist channel that have over 2,000 views. Mm-hmm. You know, like, you never know. You just have to keep creating. So long story short, I operate, you said, what does it mean to be a tech startup? And I went right off on a tangent. No, you didn't. We're not actually a technology startup. You know what I mean? We're creating some small things, more just really kind of connection things, internal things right now. But
mindset kind of, right?
I am willing to burn a certain amount of capital every month to do the things that are necessary that are going to set us up for the future. Because I'm never going to get there if I'm worried about losing $1,000 a month net. You know what I mean? I'm never going to get there because I'm stuck doing a freaking policy change. Oh, how can I make 10 more cold call? You know, David Crothers says cold call. I don't have time to cold call because I have so much service work. Hire somebody. Mm-hmm. Brilliant. Go call Wes Anderson and Agency VA and they'll solve that problem for you tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Oh, I don't want to train them. Okay, then what you're really saying is I'd rather just bitch.
It's true.
Okay, that's fine. Just, I don't want to hear that you really want to grow when you don't. Because to grow, you have to put resources, time, capital, you have to invest in technology. That's how you grow. Otherwise, you're just running a really nice business, and that's perfectly fine too. Yeah. I hit a point somewhere, man, where I was just like, I'm sick of convincing people. I'm not doing it anymore.
Right. No, I remember the call, and it really, I remember you just basically saying that because as you got in, you did nothing more than what other people did. It was like, okay, where do I fit here? Because you knew the industry. But you were now saying, okay, hey, this, like you're saying right now, I got to look at this long term. Like, this is a kind of a big deal. I really, really like that. How's the family going? I know the boys are getting big. You're really, really busy because not only are you doing the 200 videos, not only are you running an agency, but you're now like, what, a baseball coach for the traveling team?
Yeah. Little League baseball is fun.
So for all the loyal listeners, if you don't remember, he was a college baseball player.
Yeah, so baseball was my first love. I was probably the best. I was probably better at football, but I got a couple head injuries, which maybe explains a lot.
It does explain a lot.
So I couldn't play football in college. That's what I was originally going to do. So I had to, even though I loved baseball, was like I loved baseball. I probably could have gone farther in football and just couldn't. So I played baseball in college, which was awesome. And loved baseball. Played a little afterwards. So haven't really played since 25, and to now be back out on the field with my son who's 7, and he plays on a travel team, and it's like a really cool mix of kids who take it seriously but are still just 7 and having a great time, and teaching kids how to field ground balls, and they make a throw from third to first, and the other kid in the first baseman catches it, and you're like losing your friggin' mind because 9 times out of 10 that doesn't happen, and so that's been a lot of fun, and Honestly, that's really been a good escape for the agency because I have a really hard time not thinking about it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Whatever I'm doing. When I was with Agency Nation Trusted Choice, I had a really hard time not thinking about what was going on there. So to have that escape, um, to be able to go down the baseball field and do that and share that with my son, and now my younger son is starting to get into it a little bit. So that's been awesome.
It has been, and you have a unique situation that you and the old lady are both in. Loyal listeners, that's what we call them in the Midwest. So Shorty, don't be upset. That's just what we say all
Yeah, she would probably
throughout.
punch you if she heard you
Yeah, I know,
call
but
me that.
but with you and your old lady, you guys, you are both in the business,
Yep.
right? A lot of people don't know that, but you're in different agencies. How does that work, dude? I mean,
We just operate in different markets. They're just a rock solid
do you guys
locally
talk
based.
about insurance at dinner and afterwards?
A little bit. We try not to.
Okay.
We try not to. I think by the time we get to that point in our day, we both have kind of had enough. I think the other side of it is the way that I operate is so much different from the way she operates. I mean, she operates very traditionally. They have some rock solid referral partners in the mortgage industry that keep them very, very busy, and they do everything they can to make those people happy. They do a tremendous job, and they grow.
Hmm.
And they get a lot of referrals, and they're just a really well run, predominantly personalized. They do a little bit of commercial too, but our markets are just so different. I mean, I write accounts in 30 something states now. We our
So
marketing.
So I want to talk about that. Let's dive into that. Billy Williams said one time to me, and it was a moment in 2014, 2015. He said, Jason, why would you market to 1,000 people who don't know you when you can find 10 to 25 people who do know you and can bring you 100 to 200 people through their word of mouth, through referral partners, right? Not
Yeah.
only just, not only just people who they need insurance in their business too to be able to do a transaction like a mortgage broker, but also a center of influence, right? And
Hmm.
so you have really, I'm not saying that you learned that from Billy, but that is kind of your idea as well. Is we're going to grow leads, but we're going to do it in a different way. What does that look like when you're talking about earlier with partners?
Yeah, we call them affinity partners. Mostly, I don't love the word affinity, but it's the word that these types of organizations use for partners like us. And essentially, my philosophy is, um, so there's 30 million small businesses in the United States. Only 1% of small businesses currently purchase their business insurance online. Yet in half a dozen studies at least, but the big ones are like McKinsey, Better Business Bureau. I think KPMG did one. Somewhere between 25 and 30% of small business owners would prefer to purchase their business insurance online. That's a fairly large disparity. So my philosophy is there are two reasons why small businesses do not purchase online: trust and customer experience. So for so what our philosophy is we find organizations that have trust, so a customer base that trusts them, and then we provide them with the customer experience to provide small business insurance to those customers. It helps them build a moat around their customers, so now they have an additional service that they can add, um,
Okay.
and it helps those
Interesting.
small businesses not have to then Google search another thing and try to build trust with another organization to purchase. So that's kind of
Okay,
the
so
high level.
there's a lot of things there that I want to talk about. So for all the loyal listeners, affinity actually the definition is a feeling of closeness or understanding that someone has for another person. In this situation, an organization, because of their similar qualities, ideas, or interests. It's a liking for or attraction to something, a quality that makes people or things suited for one another. And
Yep.
our buddy Spencer Holden works in a very similar thing, but not similar, right? It's like it's a place where it's a one-stop shop, right? Isn't that kind of what an affinity kind of is, the best as possible?
No. So, like classic affinity programs are college home and auto programs. So Liberty's been doing this for years. So Liberty Mutual, through a broker, will go to University of Rochester, where I went, and say, hey, we'll give you 10% off your home and auto if you purchase through Liberty Mutual as an affinity program. So you have an affinity to the
Yeah.
University of Rochester, and because of that affinity program, because you're an alumni of them, you get this 10% discount on Liberty Mutual. Okay, so those programs are fun and interesting, except oftentimes they are poorly managed, poorly run, and the pricing, there's no 10% of something that's 100, and this isn't a knock on Liberty Mutual, it's just these aren't prioritized pricing, and they just haven't traditionally been handled well or kept up to date on the newest programs. So what you get is it's 150% higher than the market, and then you get a 10% discount on that. So and then the relationship with the broker in that situation is also at an arm's length. So you're not getting the relationship side of what an agency or an agent or a brokerage has to offer. Okay, so that model that's probably the model for what we're trying to do, except for all the shitty parts. So my perspective is, look, in order to properly offer your customer base small business insurance, you have to be able to offer more than one option. We have to be able to offer multiple products, and one of the core philosophies at Rogue Risk is no customer left behind. So what we mean by that is, in any type of referral relationship, we often want the boxed, super sweet, hey, give me the florist with 5 people, a car, workers' comp, and $2 million in revenue. That's my sweet spot. I can quote it with Hartford, the whole thing, boom, write it. Hey, small business. That's awesome. Except that's like no businesses that exist in the world. What really ends up happening is, you can write the florist with Hartford. You can probably write the comp with Hartford, but then the auto has delivery outside of 50 miles with a kid who's under the age of 25, and now it doesn't qualify for Hartford's commercial auto program, which makes sense. So now you got to find, maybe you have Progressive, maybe you can get it with Guard, maybe you can get it with another company, maybe you got to look at someone like Lancer. So what I would like to believe that one of my superpowers is the ability to connect and generate relationships, particularly with carriers, and understanding what their market and appetite is, and being able to piece together an all-inclusive marketplace for our customers. So yes, we can do the easy shit super easy and fast, but we can also do the really hard stuff. You got a roofer with 2 losses in Texas, we can find a market for that, and we'll do the work. Right? And you may be sitting there going, ha ha ha, Hanley is an idiot. Everyone knows excess line, blah, 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 blah. Well, in order to write the 25 really easy accounts, I also need to be able to address the 2 tough accounts for that referral partner. Because I'm not really doing them a service if I can only write the easy shit that everyone else can write. Because that's everyone's value proposition. Look at every small business, national player that exists today. All of them are awesome at the easy stuff, right? Because it's easy, because every carrier can write it, because we all know the underwriting inside and out. Well, can you address the hard shit? And my value proposition is, yes, I can do the easy stuff easy, but I can also do the hard stuff, mostly just because I'm willing to do it. It's not any easier for me yet. I'm working on programs, and if anyone is a E&S carrier that actually is digitized, I have a few that I'm starting to work with, and I don't mean digitized like you email. I mean digitized like actually wants to work at scale on a product that is a little easier to use. I'm super interested in talking to them, but like, this is the hard work that I think separates us from the rest of the market.
One of the things, Hanley, you said that you had been with Trusted Choice, you had been with the Pulled Penguin, and these things that you had, and you said, and now here I am at 40 years old, starting this. One of the things that I always think about when I hear somebody at that age or thinking about starting something else at the age 40, Billy Williams started his empire at the age of 41, right? I mean, Billy Williams started his empire at the age of 40 beeping 1. And I really think that that's like something that people like need to think about. I think also that, I just think that there was, looking back on it, I think that the thing with Trusted Choice is perfect. As you're talking about developing these affinity programs, I can just hear how you learned this stuff, right? From being in those rooms and listening and being able to say, like, you now can pin it back and be like, I can help those people, right? I hear what they're saying and what they're wanting as the carrier, but also as the small business. And I think that that's very, very interesting. It seems like it laid the groundwork.
You are right. So I think anyone who is familiar with me knows that the way everything with Trusted Choice was very tumultuous, right? It was something that I poured, 1,000% of my soul into, and then partially my fault. I will take blame for some of the way that fell apart. It was very tough, But what I'll say, looking back on it now, I am a Big I member. I do subscribe to trustedchoice.com. I'm not going to give you guys the secrets, but I have figured out, I've kind of figured out how to utilize it in a way, optimize my profile, and I get leads that we write every month out of it. So everyone that says Trusted Choice isn't good leads, like I've been telling you for a decade, it's not their fault, it's your fault, because I write leads every day from trustedchoice.com, and I don't have anything special that you don't have. So, it's just, God damn it, people are so stupid.
I know.
It just drives me nuts, man. Like, I just think, like, how many times I've heard, we don't get good leads from trustedchoice.com. I'm writing them every week. I don't have anything special. I just pay for the same thing you do. But whatever. So my point coming back to that is, and it's not I'm not advocating. It's not I'm not getting paid to say that. I find it funny.
And really, I didn't mean to point to Trusted Choice.
I do have a point on this. I do have a point on this. I agree with you wholeheartedly, and looking back on it now, I feel blessed to have that time, because what I was able to hear was pros and cons from every carrier, pros and cons from every tech provider, pros and cons from every agency, right? I learned, and this seems very anti-agent, I don't mean it to be, but I learned what they're unwilling to do. I learned every day what agents are unwilling to do. And I said, I'm willing to do it. I'm willing to do that work. Like, I heard them. No, that's not for us. That's not us. We don't do. I mean, these are things I heard over and over and over again. And I'm not saying any of them are wrong, because a lot of those are really successful agencies. That's fine. I can't be a really successful local agent. I can't be it. I'm not built that way. I don't have the mentality for it. That is not a knock. Matt Wood, I have as much respect for him as an insurance professional as ever exists, and he has a tremendous agency. It's built and dominates a space in our local market, and he does a tremendous job. I couldn't do that. I'm just different. I can't not think bigger, global, faster. I can't not think that way. So in hearing all these things that agents were unwilling to do, I was able to say, that's a differentiation point. I can differentiate there. I can differentiate there. I'm able to do that. I can find a solution to that thing. And that's how I built my agency. It's hard, bro. I haven't paid myself in 16 months. You know what I mean? I haven't cashed a check from Rogue yet. It's hard writing payroll checks to people and not having one come to yourself. That's not easy. I got to eat that every day. So that part's tough, but I look at where we're going and what we're trying to do. And, there's a few more partnerships that we put in place, and we're going to grow fast, real fast. And I think be able to help a lot of people. And by help, I mean, not just help people who are part of the business, but actually help small business owners. The small business owners that you hear people scoff at, $500 bops, blah. You know what I mean? Like how dare they have a business that only has a $500 bop? Why? How dare they run a business of that size? I want to help that person. You know what I mean? The guy running the smoke shop down here, right? That's a $500 retail bop. I don't go in there, but I met him. He seems like a great guy. He's just trying to do his thing, right? Right. I don't want to smoke hookah, whatever, you know what I mean? Whatever that flavored tobacco. But why can't that guy get good service out of his $500 bop? Why can't we make sure that we're making sure he's taken care of every year? And I think that takes some extra work and some automation and finding the right carrier partners who are willing to get involved, but they're out there. And that's the work, right? That's the work is not taking what's given to you, but going out and actually finding what you need to be successful.
Shit. Loyal listeners, this was good, man. We're going to have to pick this up at another time. This has been Cass. This has been Hanley. Tell me your thoughts and tell me your ideas, and I'm going to tell the world what you have to say. This is Agents Influence Podcast. Conversations with Cass. I'm out.